And we are live. So hello everyone and welcome to this tournament live stream we have got coming from the Zanzibar Red Bishop Cup. And joining me on commentary today is Groovenstein. So welcome Groovenstein, how are you doing?
Flan, I am fantastic. You know, I've been watching a lot of 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown recently, and so I feel like I should ask you if you've got a mascot for this game.
I do not have a mascot. You've thrown that on me right at the last second without giving me a chance to prepare. So, however, exquisite taste in television shows. So I commend you on that. But yeah, definitely good choice there. However, we have some Wingspan here today, and it is a great matchup in store. We've got Visme against jeastthebeast. So these are two very experienced Wingspan players from the tournament's Discord. I think it's 5 tournament wins combined between the two players. So yeah, some real good quality on display here. And just to introduce the tournament a little bit. So as I said, this is the Zanzibar Red Bishop Cup. So this began as a group stage tournament with 9 groups consisting of 10 players in each, and then the top player from each group was progressing through into a Swiss style knockout style round. So we've had 1 round of the Swiss style and we go through into round 2 now. And so like I said, we've got Visme against jeastthebeast today. So Visme, I believe, is going first and is ready to send the invite out. So Visme, if you could go ahead and do that, then we can get started with the game. So best of luck, as always, to both of our players.
I don't even know what a Swiss style is, to be honest.
I was very conveniently not explaining the Swiss style because I don't entirely understand it myself.
And who cares? Look at the tray.
Exactly. So yeah, I was talking to Visme about this a couple of days ago. He has had a lot of luck in his games recently in sort of random ELO matches, and he's very worried that it's not going to carry over into the tournament games. However, yeah, when the tray looks like that and your starting hand looks like that, I don't think you've got too much to worry about. So
yeah, that's where Morgan Freeman cuts in and goes, but it did come into the tournament games.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess the kind of the only question is, how greedy do you go from this starting hand? It looks like he's just going for the 2 forest birds here, but would you look at the black chinned hummingbird as potentially something to keep as well?
Well, I know Elsie would.
Absolutely, that goes without saying, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting choice. I mean, of course, the woodpecker and the screech owl are solid. You're already gaining 3 food at that point, but
right,
the hummingbird gives you the option of picking up an additional piece of food from your grassland, and it helps you. I mean, one of the things that you and Wingspan and others have talked about is, just kind of getting that one habitat built out quickly. If this is the habitat you're gonna rely on, if you're going grassland heavy as you would be with the goal, or if you're going full tuck, if you had a couple good full tuck cards, like, you want to get that habitat built out as quickly as possible so that you're gaining the maximum benefits from that action. And so the black chin hummingbird would be a step towards helping you build that grassland out, especially, you're going to get, unless Geast shows up with a wren or a brant or something, you're going to get not only the gull, but a fabulous complementary bird with it. Right. The swift, almost certainly. I mean, I can't imagine Geast would take the swift over the bush tit. So, you're going to be able to hit that goal. To gain cards, you're going to be able to tuck those cards under the swift, and you're going to be able to get a piece of food, even though it's a cherry. Okay, but at least it's something, and it's going to get you out to that, further along in your grasslands more quickly. Plus, it costs a wild food, so you don't have to worry about what's in the feeder, and it's going to be 4 points as well. So, yeah, I think, there's certainly an argument for keeping it. And I think, if you gun to my head right now, I would probably say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess sort of just trying to see into the players' minds. I guess here, I think what Devine will have been doing for the last few minutes is just working out this first round. So one turn's going to be to take the gull. He's going to take either the swift or the bush tit, whatever's left, and then he's going to be counting the turns, playing these birds. Lay eggs, get the second bird down, and then how many turns gaining food. I would imagine that in sort of counting that, he probably didn't find enough turns to justify playing the black-chinned hummingbird as well. But hey, I mean, he's still going to have a very strong forest and food generation there regardless. But yeah, here we go. We've got Jeast's hand now, and fair to say, significantly weaker, but some decent options in there still, I think.
Yeah, the blue jay I think is a decent starting bird. It's going to help you gain an additional piece of food. It does cost 2 food, but one's a wild. The sparrow is a nice bird just because of how cheap it is, and it helps you to gain additional eggs. And then you're probably going to be getting, or you're definitely going to be getting the bush tit, which also takes seeds, which the blue jay can help you get. Although, granted, there is only one in the feeder, but once Devine, Jeast knows if Devine is going to be taking that goal, he's probably also going to be looking at developing a forest, so he can kind of count on some circulation on the bird feeder. So looking at G's start is really only weak by comparison. It's actually it's actually not a bad starting hand at all.
Yeah, I think in most situations you'd kind of take this starting hand. I mean, the blue jay, like you mentioned, it's a good opening forest bird, allows for some extra food generation. I'm kind of interested that they're looking at this golden eagle now. I can only imagine it's kind of looking at the bird feeder situation at the moment with those 2 rodents, that they're considering keeping that. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that, and where do you imagine it's going to go? Because they've got the flexibility of either the grasslands or the wetlands in this case.
Right. Well, anytime in the beginning, your chief concern is going to be how you're going to generate cards. And so they don't have any other bird that you'd be looking to play in the wetland, other than that bush tit. And so I think there's with those 2 rodents in the feeder, and they get to keep one. It's not bad. Plus, it's a nice point bomb. Granted, this isn't the time of the game where you're looking for point bombs, but you can only play the cards that you have.
Right. Absolutely.
So yeah, it's not bad. Whether to put it in the forest or excuse me, if you put it in the forest, we got a whole nother. Oh my goodness!
Here we go. Okay, I was just about to pick up on G's going for the bush tit rather than something like the Merganser that just appeared. But yeah, now that fish crow's appeared, as if things already didn't look comfortable for Devine, they do now. But the question really is, do they prioritize that fish crow or do they take the swift? Because there is the risk of whichever one they don't take is going to get taken by Jeast. So. This is an interesting decision, I think, here for Devine.
Yeah, it is. I think you've got to look at. Gosh, it's tough, right? Because if you don't, if you're going to be hitting those grasslands really hard, then there is the potential for filling up more quickly on that swift. And while the swift does allow you to gain points with those tucks. It also, it's going to increase your egg capacity, or increase your, how many egg slots you're filling up and how quickly you can spend them. Whereas with the fish crow, along with the gull, you're gaining food, you're gaining cards, and you're spending these eggs that you're generating, and it's going to allow you to get built up more quickly. And as we see, it turns out that. Why have one when you can have both?
Yeah, now it was kind of an interesting sequence of turns there. So I think Devine taking the fish crow, that forced Jeast into a difficult position, because Jeast doesn't want that Swift. So I think, if Devim had taken the Swift first, Jeast is taking that Fish Crow. Now, the interesting thing is that Jeast went and took the fish out of the bird feeder before playing a bird. I think he's imagining that maybe Devim doesn't have these strong forest birds that we know he does have, and so was just trying to think, okay, I could try and just stop him from being able to get this fish crow down, because obviously once the fish crow goes down, it's easy to get that second fish for the goal. But yeah, I think while that sequence of moves might have made sense for Jeast, I don't particularly think it's going to work out here, because as we know, Devim's going to be able to get this screech owl down as well, and suddenly, with that massive food generation, he's not going to have any problem getting all of these birds down with the food costs.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where it's like, okay, Jeast, did the understandable play, the right play. It just, you don't know what you don't know. Essentially, it's just kind of a bad break.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, I would argue that it maybe mattered a little bit less here, because Jeast was always going to be taking extra food. He needed the rodent, and then he was always going to re-roll there for the potential seed on the blue jay. And as luck would have it, obviously reveals then not one but two fish for Devim to take. So yeah, I think Jeast's plan always would have been to get those rodents. Assuming he's going to look to try and get this eagle and bushed it down. But yeah, certainly, I just think this is so nice for Devim, getting these two forest birds down, easily get the food. He's basically guaranteed this first end of round goal, and looks really strong for the next one as well, particularly with the birds in his hand. So yeah, this just feels like it's going to be such a smooth and very quick start for Devim.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's 3 turns remaining. You look, Devim's going to be able to get the 2 fish, pick up an additional seed with the woodpecker, and then get the fish crow down.
Right.
And still got the 1 egg left. So
yep.
First turn of the next round, the goal goes down, and then the following turn. Sorry if that noise made its way onto the microphone. There was a cat who doesn't quite understand gravity. But the cat's fine. It's just that the things that they knocked over are not. But then immediately it'll only take them 1 turn to turn around and get the Swift down. You lay the eggs, you draw a couple cards, you only to spend or only need one egg from the fish crow to get the grub for the Swift. So yeah, it's like you say, it's going to be bang bang.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think even before the reroll with the double fish, I think this was still going to be strong for Devim. You play the fish crow, you lay eggs, and you get that extra fish. But just the way this has worked out, like you said, they can get the fish crow down now, and they have an extra egg from where they laid eggs earlier. So straight away in that second round, they could look at getting the goal down on top of that. And suddenly, like you say, you lay eggs, you're going to get the food with the Swift, but also those cards, because once the Swift does go down, it's going to get activated before the goal. So he's going to need something to tuck under that and at least activate it. But yeah, just going back onto what Jeast's been up to, a bit of back and forth in the chat about the Merganser that has been sat there for a little while. I was wondering as well if Jeast was going to go for that, but the Gallinule, I think, potentially makes sense. I think certainly these kind of co-op birds that give away extra cards, you can potentially justify that a bit more when you're playing against something like the Franklin's Goal.
Yeah, I mean, just as a general rule, and as always in this game, it's situational. But as a general rule, you don't mind feeding extra resources to an opponent who has an easy time getting them.
Right.
So with that goal, Devim's not going to have any trouble getting cards. You do maybe give him a little bit more flexibility in terms of what he's able to tuck under the Swift, but still, yeah. Plus, you look at it's kind of a similar food cost, just because you are able to get the free seed from the blue jay, and it's going to be 4 additional points in the end, which you got to figure. And I know you've made this point before, where when you're up against such a strong start like this in that Davim is having. You have to figure, where are my points going to come from? How am I going to compete with this? And so, kind of favoring more of a big point bird like the gallinule. I can definitely see the merit in that.
Yep, and I think as well, this has been looked at in the chat as well. The end of round goal, certainly the final one. If Geast is able to get this bush tit down as well, they're going to have 10 egg spaces for that. So looking quite ahead into the future, but certainly, it's one of those little marginal things that when you're choosing between potentially 2 birds to pick up and play, that can certainly factor into it. But yeah, certainly I was about to comment on that Oriole, wondered if Geast was going to go for it. So not really too surprising that he has. Oh, and look at what we have in the tray now. Indigo bunting.
Try to control yourself. And
heavy breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Davib's got to pick this up.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, there we go. He knows what he's doing.
Well done, mate. Now you can get 2 pieces of food from that.
Exactly.
From that, or potentially, you provided the feeder cooperates, and you can gain 3 pieces of food.
Yeah, I think
and reset that feeder pretty quick. So
yeah, I think the way that Geast is setting up, they don't have that food generation in the other habitats. So certainly they are going to have to spend a decent enough number of turns in that forest. So yeah, there are obviously ways in which you can try and manipulate the feeder a little bit and make it more difficult for a bunting player to gain food. But yeah, I think just being able to get a couple of food rather than just a single one, potentially for Davim, is so nice. So I think that makes sense. And they can be a bit selective here because they know Geast has just picked up that Oriole. So they're probably going to expect within maybe 1 or 2 turns here, they're going to get free cherry. So that's already one of the food they need to get that bunting down. So it just makes it a little bit easier to play.
Yeah, and of course, if you're in Geast's position and that Davim has taken the bunting, you might look at grabbing that cherry and grabbing. Well, for one, you need the cherry yourself for the Oriole, but then for 2, like you look at maybe skipping that Oriole for exactly that reason. I mean, you don't necessarily want to help Davim accelerate what is already a really fast start.
Yeah, and I think that will be an interesting point for Geast to decide on is, am I going to activate this Oriole? And if I am going to activate it, when is it going to get activated? So obviously if they activate it earlier, that's going to help them. But like you say, if it just helps Davim get some of these grassland birds down just that 1 turn sooner, then that can end up being quite costly. But I mean, we all know Geast. We know he likes these kind of cooperative birds. Obviously the Phoebe being his favourite, but he quite likes anything that scores big points and is going to give food out to all players. So it wouldn't surprise me if he does, try and rush to get this Oriole down as soon as he can and just start spamming those free cherries.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all. So, I mean, what do you, if you're Geast, kind of, what are you thinking beyond that, right? I mean, of course, he's got a nice, 5+ point engine already in the grassland, maybe.
Yeah, well, this is the next question, I think, is where does this bush tit go? Because, like you say, if you get it in this grasslands, it's 5, maybe 6 points if you get a good hunt from the eagle. Obviously, the downside is it is going to require extra cards, and they can get 3 from that wetland. So potentially, they might even look at that canvas back as well and just go full on spam free cards. But certainly, they've got some good point scoring in that grassland, but it is going to take some effort to be able to feed that with cards.
Yeah, that Harrier, what a nice pickup for Davim.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's fits with the rodentology bonus card, so it's that nice 5 points for 1 food situation, and it's what is that, about 1 and 3 or so, or 2. I mean 2 and 3. Success rate on those hunts. So. And early game like this is, or I should say, I mean, we're kind of approaching, mid game, but, you figure how many more times are they gonna activate that, just because they're going to be hammering that grassland. So that harrier will have plenty of hunting opportunities and should bring them a lot of points.
Yeah, and I think that was really that was Davim's decision. He did, spend a little bit of time there thinking, okay. Yeah, I think his original plan would have been to try and get this bunting down, but just being able to pick up that harrier, like you say, it just extends the grasslands out. It's going to get more eggs on its own, but really good chance of getting some tuck cards from that hunting power as well. So I think that makes sense. I think at the moment as we look at it, Davim, they're only generating 3 eggs each turn. And they've got plenty of space, so I certainly think they can afford to just spam this grasslands and get lots of cards and food that way. Now, just seeing that Jeast, the elephant in the room, or the common raven in the room, has just appeared. So maybe just about still time for Jeast to get that down, but it's quite difficult with the feeder the way it's set up at the moment. They can only get 3 food, and they know that. Davim's not going to be resetting that, so it is going to take at least a couple of turns to get that down, but you'd expect that it's still worthwhile to do it just because it is such a strong bird. Yeah, you oh my goodness. Barn swallow.
What was it? You and I were playing a game the other day,
yeah.
and what was it you were saying? Like, we either have these games where it's just bone dry, or the game is just throwing every bird at you, and this is certainly one of the latter.
Yeah. I think for Davim, that's kind of a no-brainer. That's your 5th grassland bird, and your grasslands is set up like we're not even at the end of round 2, and they've basically got full grasslands that's going to score like 5-6 points a turn, gives you that card cycle and the food generation, like as if the game wasn't already over. It probably is now, as Davim can pretty straightforwardly get these other birds down, but. Yeah, I think the Raven potentially gives a slight avenue for Jeast to fight back, but it is just going to be so difficult because of that strong grasslands for Davim.
Yeah, and I'm surprised you were able to to report on that without any kind of sense of like trauma from realizing that bunting is bye bunting.
It's okay. He can keep it in his hand, and it's there as a like an emotional support dog kind of thing. As long as he doesn't tuck it.
Emotional support bunting.
Yeah, if he tucks it just to spite me, I won't be too happy. But it wouldn't surprise me if he does that. So we'll have to wait and see.
You know what I do is I like at the end of the game, if there's if I'm just as you so often are here, you just have a spam eggs grassland, and you can and I've got a tucking bird there, and there was like a bird that I meant to play earlier and I screwed up, or it's like I draw some it's like draw the Atlantic puffin or something and I can't play, like I'll tuck it just to get it out of my head.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind. I like it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
here's that bird I should have played earlier. Let me get rid of that one.
No, sometimes I'll do the opposite. So like if I do have a tucking engine or something, and like I pick up a raven or a gull kind of really late in the game and I have no intention of playing it, sometimes I'll just leave it because your opponent is always going to hop over to your board at the end of the game to see your bonus cards and stuff, and if they see that you had the raven and the gull sat in your hand the whole game, it's just that little bit of mind games going on even after the game. Any excuse.
Well, yeah, I think after the game it's not so much mind games as it is like Schadenfreude.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I think it's you've progressed from mind games to sadism there, my friend.
Yep. So Davim obviously going for the worm on the previous turn. I imagine this barn swallow is going to go down. For Jeast, I'm kind of interested to see what the sequence is here. I would imagine he is still planning on getting this Oriole down just purely for the points, if anything. He does have the option, obviously, to go for food, get the Oriole, and then go for food again, and potentially get this Raven down. But yeah, oh, here we go. You want big rodent birds? There's one.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's at least Davim didn't get the raven, and then it would have just been.
Yeah. Oh, but there is a hummingbird in the tray.
Oh my goodness!
I think he was planning on playing the bunting. So I think he obviously Davim could have played the barn swallow that previous turn, but didn't. Laid eggs, went for the seed. I think he is still looking at it. But I would be tempted. Obviously, the thing is, he doesn't know about this raven, so he might be cautious about picking up the hummingbird and giving away too much free food. But when you see the raven, not only does that make the hummingbird stronger, but it makes the bunting weaker because you're not going to get that bird feeder re-rolling as frequently. So
yeah.
I think this is interesting. Obviously seeing those two birds that Davim just picked up, the puffin and the eagle, they are expensive, so you are going to need a bit more food generation than what he can get at the moment. I think that fish crow has served well so far. I think particularly the swift and the harrier, and then potentially the bunting or the hummingbird, he could get those down pretty quickly, but it's going to take a long time, one food at a time. Oh, and here we go with the working grain as well. That feeds even more into the 2 food a turn strategy. So yeah.
Where's the picture? What is it? Angela Merkel with the
all the birds. Yeah.
All the birds.
Yeah, something like that. Certainly. Yeah, I think the score here is just going to be as high as Davim wants it to be, really. Once this hummingbird goes down, that double food generation. I mean, the only thing that I was worrying at the start of this round was for this end of round goal being birds in the wetlands. I was thinking, how is Davim going to get enough birds to play in the wetlands? Well, he's just picked up probably 3 of the best ones he could have from the deck. So certainly no issues getting those down for this end of round goal.
Yeah, there's saying when I used to play poker semi-professionally, and one of my friends there would just say you couldn't have reached into the deck and pulled out a better card.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's exactly what he's looking for. And of course, the reason he goes for the hummingbird here, it only costs 1 food versus the bunting's 3.
Right.
So you don't really mind giving your opponent food so much because you're going to need a lot of food to be able to get those giant wetland birds down. So that's that's what I'm sure was going through his head there was there was no point in spending the 3 food there when you can just spend the 1 and have all that extra food for the big birds.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I don't like to admit it, the hummingbird 100% is the right play there. So yeah, just being able to get all this extra foods, Davim's going to feel happy. And yeah, I think even when that raven goes down, he's not going to mind that. I've been in these kind of positions before where you do have a hummingbird, you're spamming a bit of food, and you see your opponent play a raven, you think, go for it. Knock yourself out, because I was already giving you loads of free food. So it's not going to disadvantage me too much now giving the extra free food. So yeah, I think Davim just kind of has to think a little bit carefully about what they're going to gain with this crow, because with the hummingbird, obviously you're depending on the reroll, you're depending on the bird feeder. So I think obviously
now let me throw this in. I'm gonna cut you off real quick just because this is kind of time sensitive, right?
Yeah.
But I'm looking at that pelican. I'm throwing this out there. What if Davim had taken a rodent, right? You play the pelican, which you need for the the end of round anyway, right? So you play the pelican. Now you've got 3 fish and a rodent. The feeder can be re-rolled. You take 2 fish and a rodent to play the eagle, and then potentially maybe you get lucky and roll 2 fish on the re-roll, and then you can drop the puffin.
Gamble on the bold eagle. It's bold. I think it could potentially have worked out. I think probably what Davim is thinking is, I've got 8 turns left. I want to be playing as many big point birds as I can with these 8 turns, and certainly when you get given something like the warbler, you get that option. But here we go. He has gone for the pelican anyway. So yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, I don't like that as a move. I think he's got better options in his hand. I don't think the extra fish that you get from that pelican is worth playing it, because it's only 4 points. I think Davim could easily have got 2 wetland birds down, already with the wetland birds he's got in his hand. So yeah, it's a interesting one. Certainly he's going to be looking to play that puffin on the next turn, but I don't think that's particularly how I would have played that.
Yeah, and see, I think what makes sense with what I was suggesting, and I wonder if that is why he was just shaking that card, because if he'd taken the rodent and done that, like the pelican, yeah, it's only a 4-point bird, but if that third wetland bird with this end of round makes it really a 7-point bird, right? If he's already going to be able to get that that other stuff down, if that sequence that I was suggesting might have worked out. So I wonder if that's what he was shaking his moneymaker at there.
God, look at Davim. He doesn't know that the bald eagle and whooping crane count for large bird specialist. What is this guy? He's having to actually check the birds. Unbelievable. But yeah, nice pull on the bonus card. I think Falconer probably on the surface looks the better pick, but I would be going large birds here. If you know you're going to be playing that eagle for sure, for that rheumatologist, and I think the whooping crane as well, just for that extra bonus card. I can't really see him at this point playing any Falconer birds, because there's not going to be many of the big point ones left that he could find.
Well, and he doesn't have them in his hand.
Exactly.
If he had them in his hand, that's a different story, right? Bird in a hand or whatever. But bird in a hand is worth 2 in the deck. I don't care. I gave up on that analogy as the second it started coming out of my mouth. But yeah, you don't even have. Plus, it's not just that you have to find one more; you have to find 2, because
exactly.
You're already getting 6 from the crane and which you're certainly going to play, and the eagle, which you're mega certainly going to play. That's a new word. Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm not entirely sure what he was thinking about there.
No, and I think you're right. I think he was planning on doing the pelican into the eagle and kind of maybe just miscounted or didn't make sure he took that rodent. But yeah, I mean, I think there's some good points in the chat on Davim's position. It's a case of so many birds in the hand and just not enough turns to play them all. So the priority is probably going to be to play the eagle and the whooping crane, and then maybe that warbler as well if he has time. But with only 5 turns left, you've got to be getting the right food from the bird feeder on the hummingbirds. It's not looking likely, but to be honest, I don't think that's too much for an issue, because he's scoring massive points in this grasslands anyway. It's just about making sure you can get enough egg space to fill all of those.
Yeah, and I mean, the game that Jeast is trying to play in terms of, Jeast was like, okay, I got some big point birds down, and now Jeast has a strong grassland. But I mean, if so meaning that with that raven and bush hit there, maybe they end up where Jeast isn't too far behind on tucks.
Yeah,
but if Jeast or if Davim is competing on big point birds, which clearly they are, then that's kind of where Jeast is really in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I think where Jeast does have to be careful is, you're right. It's a huge grasslands he's got now. It's scoring, potentially 8 points a turn. And that's just really, really nice at the end of the game. He has got to be careful, because this Eulogist bonus card, now it's often called the guaranteed 6 points, but he's only got 7 birds down. And again, we talked about this with Davim, but time is running out for Jeast as well to try and get those 2 extra birds down. And
it's not happening without a double bird.
I can't see it happening, because he's going to have to spend 1 turn drawing cards here to keep feeding this bush tit. And then, with only 3 turns left, are you going to be able to play 2 birds and lay eggs on both of them? I don't see it. But yeah, I think it's one of those positions where you just take the 3 points from the Eulogist, because this grasslands is just scoring so many points that it's not going to matter too much. I think as long as Geast can just hammer this grasslands as much as possible, get as many tucks, like you said, that's going to be where he can potentially try and catch up. But I just think that Devim is just in such a strong position here that it's about damage limitation if you're Geast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think if you're Geast, you look at it's like maybe because I mean Geast has to figure they're kind of in in Barney, and so I mean I don't know, maybe you grab that Finch and then hope you pick up a Kinglet or something and just get your max on the Eulogist and your miracle draw and what have you. But
that might just have to be the gamble at this point for Geast to try and bring this back. But just something I want to pick up on Devim's turn there. So often, when you're playing with something like the Franklin Skull, there is a point in the game where you start skipping, and he did skip the power on that last turn. So I'm assuming that he's done his sums and he's counted his egg spaces because he's filling up pretty quickly. Obviously, he can potentially play a couple of birds, but then if he's going to start laying eggs and continue skipping that goal, potentially the fish crow as well, if he has got all of his birds down, then he's going to need to be careful that you're not sort of wasting egg space there. But I'm sure he is, like I said, done his sums correctly. But a couple of fish here wouldn't go amiss, and there we go. That is exactly, I think, what he needed, because now he can play the whooping crane and the warbler as well, before even needing to lay eggs. So and
and depending on, let's see what the what the crane brings.
Well, exactly. I mean, fishery
manager, fishery,
I think it's a case of
wetland scientist. I don't know.
Yeah, when it rains, it pours, and when you've had some nice pulls from the deck, as Devim has done, sure, why not play a bold eagle and re-roll and get 2 fish? That's how the game goes sometimes.
All right, drum roll.
Here we go. Moment of truth. Ooh, well, it's gonna have to be visionary leader, isn't it? And now he's gonna regret skipping that goal, because I'm not sure he can fulfill that unless he's gonna skip the white-throated swift. But then that's 2 points you're giving up. So
but you're giving up 2 to gain 4. I mean, that's.
I think he can still just about make that lower tier, which, like you say, for 4 points is certainly worth it. So not the best bonus card pull by any means for Devim at the end there, but it's certainly workable. And if he can meet that lower threshold, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's definitely not the best, but I mean, I'll push back at you a little bit. I mean, I think 4 points on a last kind of late draw bonus card. Although I guess he is sacrificing the 2.
Yeah, I think that's the point
from the swift to get. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I think that's why I don't try to correct you, fan, because
No, like you say, I think 4 points you take that. To be honest, I take 3 points if I'm picking up a bonus card in the final round. But costing those couple of extra points, I think he's just kind of doing his sums again, making sure, okay, if I activate the swift and then do the goal, how many cards am I going to have? Is it worth then laying eggs again and potentially skipping? And am I going to have the egg space for that? I think the original plan would have been to get the blue-winged warbler, and I think, to be honest, it's probably still the right way to go. But he is gonna think carefully, because we know it's Devim. When he's got 2 turns left, he'll take all the time in the world to make sure he's making the right decision.
Oh yeah, well, and looking at the egg space, if he wants, he could sneak another point out by if you lay the eggs now, spend a worm to to pick up an additional egg, and then just gain it back from the right from the feeder. There's another egg, and so that probably just looking at the order of operations, because it has, play a bird and lay eggs is just a question of how you pull that off.
Yeah, I think the sequence that you suggested there is probably the way I'd go. You lay eggs here, you discard the worm. I think you feel safe enough activating that hummingbird. You know, you can look at your opponent here and you know exactly what they're going to be doing. You know that G's going to be laying eggs. He's already got the seed to activate that goose, so that extra food isn't going to help him as much as it helps Davim. So, yeah, I mean, I think the one thing I would question for Davim here is, are you really sweating that much over sort of 1 or 2 points? You know, you can look at the boards and you can know that you've got this game pretty comfortably in the bag, but again, this is Davim. He always assumes the worst. You know, he's going to sit there and think, oh, my opponent's going to have 20 bonus card points from a single bonus card, even though that's literally impossible. But that's just how his brain works when it comes to Wingspan. So he's going to be sitting there sweating and thinking, oh, I'm not going to win this, but it's in the bag. He doesn't even need to think that much, you know, about turn order here. It's pretty set in stone.
Yeah, I don't even know necessarily, you know, anxiety fueled. Just I think that the nature of Steam, right? Like the guy's just wired to be contemplative and purposeful in their actions, and that's why he's so freaking good. And I'm jealous of it because, you know, like part of my issue sometimes is that I feel like I act, you know, too impulsively. You know, it's like I see one thing and I think, okay, this is a good option, yeah, but if I had a great option, then I screwed up. So yeah, I don't think it's you know, or I shouldn't say I don't think. I mean, I don't know the dude, but it's, you know, it may not be so much driven by what could only be described as like paranoia, and maybe more so just like, you know, this is just how I do it.
Yeah, I think we might have had some mild connectivity issues there because I did have Robot Groove talking to me for a little bit, but I think that might have just been on my end. So
how is that different from any other time?
It was almost better because I didn't have to really pay attention to what you were saying. I could just sit here and go, yeah, I like it. Yep, good suggestion. Just nod.
Yeah.
But no, I think we're all good now. So
have you been talking to my girlfriend? Is that she been giving you tips?
And how to block your voice out?
Yeah, just you know, just nod and go. Don't really pay attention. Yeah.
No, but I think it's all good now. And yeah, if you did miss anything watching the stream, I mean, the long and short of it is that you haven't missed anything because it's mostly just been Davim counting and thinking carefully about this. So yeah, I think. So they are skipping. That's interesting. I'm not quite sure why they've done that. Oh, because they've got to play a bird, of course. How silly of us. So yes, there we go. He spent so long thinking, I completely forgot about the whole fact he had to skip the Swift there. That's how long that took, but here we go. Yeah, we're on to G's last turn, and no surprises. He's going to lay eggs here. Yeah, good turn, though. I think even, shame he couldn't activate the bush tip. I think if he is going to be able to get something from this eagle, that's still 7 points, and there you go. So I think you take that for a final turn. You're always happy with that. So I think Geest really, he's done what he could here. Obviously gonna be able to take this last end of round goal, which will be nice. So the damage is not too bad in terms of end of round goals. But yeah, just in terms of bird points, bonus card points, I think even tuck cards. That Harrier has been doing really well for Davim. So. It's going to be tricky to fight there, but here we go. We do go into the scores, and yeah, I think it's probably going to be a bit of a formality here, but it's just a case of, you know, if you're Geest, how close can you keep it? Can you sort of keep your pride? Don't get beaten too much by your mate. I certainly think that Geest will not be too happy to lose in a big manner here. But here we go, 120 to 94. So. Fairly comfortable margin, I think it's safe to say, and yeah, 120 points, really, really strong score for Davim, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, we got to see some strong play as we expected, and it was just, you know, the gods doth smiled on
Absolutely.
Devine
Yeah.
a little bit more, and I think we, courtesy of you, picked up a new slogan for the Wingspan tournament Discord, or at least what should be on T-shirts for the players on it, which is the Wingspan tournament Discord. I did what I could.
I did what I could, and that's the thing. Sometimes you have those games where you do what you can. You can't necessarily always, go into the game expecting to win. That's when you see the start. I think particularly that the Veeam had, you kind of throw all hope out the window, but you do what you can. You keep it professional and try and score as highly as you can. But that wraps up this game. So congratulations, obviously, to Veeam, who has taken this match, and something is going to happen in the Swiss style. So stay tuned, and we will find out together.
It's going to remain neutral. That's all I know.
I think so. I think the way that Swiss style works is that you get matched up with players who have a similar record to you. So kind of the idea is that everyone is eventually going to play everyone. So Devine, I think he won his first game as well, so has now won 2 games. There's going to be some other players in the Swiss style group that will also have won 2 games, and then they will get matched up as well. But we won't know potential next round opponents until all the games have been completed in this round. But certainly stay tuned for more. We will be looking to live stream future games in this tournament as well. And thanks, Groove, for joining me. Hopefully you enjoyed that game.
Cheers.
Excellent. All right, thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you on the next live stream.